before it passes through the panel, because sometimes generators do create spikes that can have effect on some of the components in the trailer itself. So all the transfer switches is a time delay. It's literally all it does. It's just a connecting point that gives it a 30-second time delay through the generator leg. On both of our transfer switches, shore power is always primary. So if you're if you're running your generator and you plug in shore power is going to click over the relay inside the transfer switch, and it's going to start using your shore power. So shore power on all of our transfer switches is primary. Let's see. Put my stuff on the wrong way. Like I said, transfer switch, all it does is give it that time delay. On our T30, that's a 30-amp transfer switch, so that's going to be used with our 8955 PEC. And like I showed you guys downstairs, this can actually piggyback right on the back side of it. That's what a lot of people use. It's kind of convenient, and that way they don't have to gain a whole bunch of extra space or put this in a wall somewhere. We do sell the 8955 with the T30 combo, so you can get this together with your PEC the way it's ordered. Like I said, these are the same thing, one's for 30 amp service, one's for 50 amp service, so there's not really any difference other than the wiring coming in. So 30 amp service, you got one leg of 120, 50 amp, you got two legs. That's the only difference, they do the same thing. Some problems and solutions for transfer switches is will not pass through shore power. On the T30, I really need a screw gun. On the T30, let's see if I can open one of these up. Regardless, this has a pigtail on it. So this is a pigtail of wires in here, not a screw terminal. So the connections that they're making are either with twist caps or bell caps or some type of device that is holding wires together, not putting it into a screw terminal. So a lot of things that we find are that they're not making a good bell crimp connector, or they're twisting in the plastic sheathing with the metal on the other one, so they're not even making a connection. So usually on a T30 it's a connection issue. So if the T30 is not switching over the power, most likely they don't have something wired correctly. Other one would be this will not transfer from generator to panel. A lot of times it's going to be the same thing, whether they made a bad connection inside the T30 with the pigtail, or they never check their generator. They just go into their panel and they're only getting either half voltage or none of the voltage, and they're going to think it's something with the transfer switch. A lot of times it could be like the generator loss is neutral or something like that, so it's only getting half the voltage to the transfer switch, so it wouldn't even actually pass through. So not only do you want to check here, but you want people to check at the generator to make sure the voltage that's coming to the transfer switch is getting to it, and not just assume that it's getting the full voltage of the generator. Both of our transfer switch, whether it's 30 amp or 50 amp, they can only pass through what they're given, so they can't generate any more than they're given. So we have people that try to find a warranty claim saying that the generator or the transfer switch produced high voltage and it took out one of their 110 items. And it's just not possible. This can only put through what is given to it. It can't generate anything because all it is a relay up or down. So there's like a little sled in here, so when you're on shore power, it's up. When you're on generator, it goes down. So it's really just making a connection through a timing board. So once it receives the 30 seconds on the generator, the relay will go down and it'll pass through that voltage. There's not really a whole lot to talk about with transfer switches. It's just a time delay. Anyone have anything on a transfer switch?
What if the generator's not putting out what it's supposed to? Will it still switch?
It won't pass through. I think the minimum voltage for it is like 98 volts before it'll actually activate. So if like you lose your negative on the generator, you're probably gonna get like 60 volts or something out of it. So it won't do anything, and that's why I have people check in the transfer switch to see what it's actually getting. Because if you're getting 110 in the transfer switch and it's not getting the panel, then maybe the relay frozen or welded to each other on one of the sides. Something along those lines. Anybody else? There's not a whole lot of problems and solutions with transfer switches. The only other thing I've ever ran into with the transfer switch is I've gotten a call where it was at one of the OEMs and they said their transfer switch was not passing through shore power. And I went there and we were standing there, we plugged the coach in because the transfer switch is the very first connection point to all of the electronics in the coach. So your shore power cord goes there, your generator goes there, that's the main hub before it goes to your panel. So all the power's going through your transfer switch, so that's the first spot you would want to check. But as soon as they plugged in, nothing was lighting up. We were standing there, I'm just thinking, like, And about 30 seconds later, the lights came on. I'm like, I know exactly what he did. They wired the shore power to the generator leg and generator leg to the shore power. So you only have the time delay on the generator leg, and each of the T57 and T30 are clearly labeled. Right here it says generator, and you got your ground, hot, and neutral. You got your power cord, which would be your shore power, and then you got your control panel. So it tells you where to wire these, but we had it where they wired their generator into the shore power, and shore power into generator. So when they plugged into shore power, they just noticed nothing was coming on and they unplugged it and they're thinking something's going on. Well, it was just on a time delay because they wired it through the generator leg. So that's about the only thing I've ever really seen happen with the generator transfer switch. That's all I got on the PowerPoint. On the next page, it talks about the Power Pros, which two of the guys downstairs are part of our Power Pro team. We also have Larry. I'm not sure, you've probably seen him running around with a snack or something in hand. And we have John, myself, and my boss, Ted. And there's 50 years plus of experience in the Power Pro team, so we deal with all the calls that come in, whether through warranty, the OEMs, anything like that. They perform line audits. We make emergency runs to the factories when they say, oh, we have this huge issue and we gotta get this out the door. I run out there and make sure we get it out the door. There's the number for our Power Pros on there, which is also on our business cards, and our email that John checks daily. He will reply to anyone that you guys send to us that have questions. And then our online dealer toolbox is available at our website, which our website does have a lot of good information on it. Has everything that you guys have in your packet, the crossover charts, the troubleshooting guides, torque charts, everything that's in that book that we gave you guys is going to be on our website. And that's what we're going to move to now. We're going to away from the PowerPoint, we're going to start talking about this nice little booklet that they created. In this book, we don't really talk about the first. The first page are four SKUs that Todd's going to talk to you guys about. Those are our four main SKUs that you guys are going to deal with mostly. I think Todd's going to hit on that tomorrow. On the next page, it's going to tell you who all of our OEMs are that we sell to, with the list of them. Starting with the Airstream all the way down to Winnebago, and like it says at the top, we have our approximate 80% of the market. I think that's on the low end. I think we're right around 85%. And then it goes into some facts about how our converters function. If you go to page 3, it talks about three-stage charging and what that means and what each of the stages mean for themselves. And it even gives you a diagram on page 5 of how long they stay in these ranges. I'm not sure if you guys are going to use any of this information, but it's good to know if you guys talk to the dealer about how our products function, what the stages even mean. It's easier to sell something when you're knowledgeable about every aspect of how it functions.
Are the stages the same for flooded versus AGM versus lithium?
The stages on our converter do not change, but different batteries do require different algorithms, and charging profiles. AGMs are okay with our converters. Obviously lead acids are okay. Lithium is still okay. We don't recommend gel. One controversial battery we're talking about right now is lithium, because lithium does usually require a higher charge cycle at the end of the battery charging system. But we have engineers downstairs, we're working with lithium, we're creating lithium batteries, oh, we have lithium batteries. But I don't think they're out for sale yet. But people are talking about these voltage range that people are saying, well, our converter will charge a lithium battery the way it is to about 90%. That last 10% to charge that battery to 100% requires this higher voltage. And a lot of people are like, do you really need that? It's just kind of a personal preference. Obviously, if you pay for something, if you're spending $1,000 on a battery, you want 100% out of it. But that's also gonna involve converters that are not mass produced yet, because they don't build the coach to what the battery may be going into it. They build it to what the LEDs are rated for, what the water pump rated for, what the awning motors. There's a lot of things that gotta change with lithium. But you will effectively charge a lithium battery with our converter to about 90%. You won't necessarily hurt it, but I guess over a lifespan you might lose so many charge cycles out of it, I guess. So you'll probably shorten the lifespan of the lithium of what it could be a little bit, but we don't recommend gel. On page 6, we start talking about all of our part numbers. We talk about certain parts. Then we talk about the REP, we talk about the main board, 5110s, transfer switches, power centers, pretty much everything, just kind of in a nutshell. On page 8, this is where it goes into the WFCL product list. As you can see on the right hand side, there are 220 VAC models, so if you deal with any European units or dealers, or if anyone messes with something where they may need those, we do have those products available for the European models, which would be 220. As you're going through the product list, I mean, most of our abbreviations and stuff are not self-explanatory, but they'll make sense once I explain it to you. So if we start at 8500, it says 8540S. S stands for screw terminal. So what they're talking about is on the DC fuse board, it's a screw terminal. The one right below it is Q. So that means quick connect. Oh, it actually says to the far right, it says screw terminals, QC terminals, and then 8540W would be pigtail wire, so it's pre-wired. Let's see that. If you go down to the 8700, you'll see 8712P. What that means is that's just an 8712, but if it doesn't have the B, so it's just a P, that'd be that the color is brown. If it has a B, that means it's black. So when you see like at 8955, if it says 8955-B, that just means black. Which if you go to the right hand side, it'll show you that it says black on the opposite end.
Very well.
Same with our, what else we got? If you go down to fuse boards and door latches, this kind of gives you exactly what the abbreviations are for. So you have an 8500 series converter, PCB, and it tells you it's a fuse board for an 8500 series power center. Yeah, and then actually if you go to page 10, it'll tell you all of our door and door assemblies. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna have a bunch of people asking about doors and door assemblies, and this kind of tells you what the abbreviations stand for right next to it. So if someone's looking for an 8735 door assembly in brown, then it's going to tell you the very first one is 8735 PDA door assembly for WF 8735P. we're 8740P brown. Door assembly, and that's all the DA stands for, is door assembly. If it says DO, like if you go down to 8900 series, it says 8910-DO, so that's door only. So it's not the whole door assembly, it's the actual door itself. So the door assembly is what's holding the door. It's the outer frame, and then just the door itself is just DO, is the door only.
Does NTP carry all the
How
parts?
far back do these go? Far years?
NTP carry all the parts too, or just the product?
We just sent a dealer last week and he was looking for a door, one that his technician broke. and said it was obsolete.
Dealer breaks the door off.
And that, it all matters with the part number of the product itself. So like, right now, I showed you guys the 8955 PEC. Way back when, the 8955 PEC used to be an 8955 AN. PEC means nothing, AN means nothing, they're just abbreviations they tacked on at the end of them for some reason. But 8955 AN is an older model that's not made anymore, and those doors are obsolete. So if it's an 8955 PEC, it tells you these doors. So it doesn't matter if that PEC is 5 years old, 6 years old, or brand new. The door is the same as long as it's a PEC. So as long as it's one of our,
So how long have the PECs been around?
PEC has been around for probably 6 years. It just depends. Some of our products have been around a little bit longer, like the 8735. And 8955 has been around longer too, but they switched up the door assemblies and stuff a while back. But page 10 and 11 just kind of tell you the part numbers for all of our products, or the doors. And DO stands for door only, DA stands for door assembly. Yep. I guess the abbreviations are gonna take a while, because that's not something I really even focus on. Like, I get calls all the time, they're like, hey, what's the part number for this door? And I have to go ask Christy or Lisa or one of them, and I've been here 6 years, it's not something that sticks in my head. So it's something, if you're interested in learning those part numbers, you gotta really invest the time into it, and I still haven't. If you turn to page 12, we're going to talk about one of our converters that we haven't talked about. This is one of our newer products that has came out in the market. And it's our 8500. It's a 30-amp panel. And this one is pre-wired. When we were back a couple pages ago, we went through, it said 8540S, 8540Q, and 8540W. Well, this is an 8540W because it's pre-wired. If it was an 8540S screw terminal, it would have screw terminals that you'd have to tighten the screw down on the wire to actually wire it up. So that's what the code at the end of the 8540 stands for. This is 8560. So this is a 60 amp 8500 series, and these come in, what is it, 40, 60, and 80, I believe. I'm sure 40, 60. That is a 50, because we have a 95 that's just like it, but this is our 30 amp model. This is relatively new that not too many people are using. You guys deal with the dealer that messes with it, Jayco. I know Jayco's using these. Who else might be using these? The company we went to yesterday called Stealth Trailer, they're gonna start using these hopefully. But this is a little bit different in some aspects than our 8955. It's the same thing. This is a 60 amp DC output, 8955 is 55 amps, but they're both three-stage charging. They're both load-based fans. All of that stuff stays the same. Where this one differentiates itself from the others is right here, you can't see it, but there's a little tinted window, and it has 3 LED indicators in there. And this is an incoming voltage LED indicator, so it has a green, yellow, and red LED. When you're plugged into shore power, you want this LED to be green. Green is stating that you're plugged into good voltage. Yellow is indicating that you're plugged into lower voltage. Red is indicating that you're plugged into high voltage. There's a range for those LEDs. But this is something we offer that can tell people, hey, if things are acting funny, you could look on these LEDs and say, I'm in low voltage, good voltage, or high voltage, so you can actually address an issue just by looking at an LED.
Is that in distribution yet?
Yes. Yeah, these are aftermarket too, aren't they, Rich?
I'm sorry?
These are for selling aftermarket as well?
Yes.
Yep.
So they're in distribution, but it's in distribution now?
Yeah.
So you have the incoming voltage LED indicator, which is different than all of our other products. And then on the DC fuse board, it's all the same. It has blown fuse indicators, but this one actually has a bulk mode indicator LED. So when you go into bulk mode, when you're in a fast charge of the battery, this actually has a yellow light that indicates that you're in bulk mode. People always want to know if they're in bulk mode or if they ever go into bulk mode or when they're not in bulk mode. This one will actually inform the customer. Our other converters that 90% of the people are using don't have the smart fuse board like this one does or the incoming LED indicator. Other than that, this is pretty much the same thing, other than this one's also zero clearance, unlike the 8955. So this one can go into a very enclosed space and it breathes in and out of the front door assembly. So this one can go in some of the trailers that don't have as much room.
So if that goes bad, it's a complete replacement?
This has a main board as well.
It does.
Yep. Yeah, this does have a main board.
Because we obviously have to hit the Jayco dealers. We need to make sure all the Jayco dealers have that in stock.
Yeah, we have main boards available for these, don't we, Rich?
I believe we do, yeah.
If not, we'll take them out of another case and
Yeah,
send them one.
we'll make them available.
Yeah, we'll make them an MBA. But this does slide out of the bottom like the other one that I showed you downstairs when they did the IQC, unlike our 8700. Our 8700 is the only one where you have to replace the whole box. It's kind of a pain, but it's cost effective too. That's a lot cheaper than this. But it also holds less. This holds, this has 5 stabs like the 8955, and this has actually more DC circuits. This has 13 DC circuits compared to the 11 of the 8955. So this gives more people more freedom on the DC side and the same amount of space on the AC side. Just like all of our other products, it tells torque specs for the AC and DC side. But that's one of our new products that I think we're trying to get more business with. So that would be our 8500, and then everything that I explained is on the page too, so these booklets are actually very, very handy.
So will we get notified as we pick up? Let's just say we find another OE who takes that one on. I mean, will we get that information?
Do you want that information?
Yeah, because we gotta go fill their shelves.
Helps our dealer calls.
I mean, that's
I mean,
something.
because if Jayco's using it, it's in all of our best interests, including the dealer, to have those parts in stock.
It's true.
So as we take on an OE and there's a change, especially with the newer item, if that funnels down to us, it's basically a guaranteed sale to every Jayco dealer that we're gonna go to now.
How do you want to do that, Todd? I mean, do you have a list of who's using what?
I don't right now, but it'd be very helpful to have. I mean,
Well, I guess, yeah, that one makes sense for Todd because Todd's one person and you guys have a lot more people. So that information might be more useful to you guys. I think Todd's hit more of a larger area. I think you guys are focusing on individual dealers. No, you don't mess with dealers, do you?
I call them dealers.
Do you?
Yeah.
When were you ever in a
Last Thursday.
Yeah, when?
A week from tomorrow, I'll be in the dealer.
But no, that's definitely something we can get a list of.
I mean, because for the ultimate, the end user, we're doing them a favor by having it at their dealer readily in stock.
Yeah, so I mean, that information, like, they use store sets all the time, and they actually place the orders for the product that's going in for the store sets. So that's a product for a Jayco dealership that they would want to be emphasized and put it on the shelf inside the dealer because it'll be a natural transition.
Is all in the retail box? All the products?
Well, again, it comes in an OEM box, and then some of the stuff has been transferred into a retail friendly
Okay.
box for the.
I don't know, does the 85 and 95 have aftermarket boxes?
You know, I'll have to check, because we've never
I don't-
had it available to the aftermarket
Yeah, I
until
don't
just
know
recently.
if we have aftermarket box, it might be
What
in our
about-
box.
What about that REP or the?
Yeah, that's retail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's retail.
Bob, it's a good point. I tell you what, from now on, we'll funnel that information on new OE sales through Todd, and then Todd can get the rest of you guys.
It's just a guaranteed hit list to go hit.
Yeah.
Every time, every.
Well, not even
OE
new,
that
I mean,
makes-
any from, if we could get a list of
Even
OEMs,
existing.
every OEM and what products they have in them, then it allows them to focus in. When they walk into a dealership and they know it's a Jayco dealer or a Coachman or
I think
whatever.
Steve provided that for them, didn't she, Rich? I think, isn't it in their binder? It might be in your binder. You guys have a way more advanced binder than I do. Give us a overview of it.
Second page has got them.
That's just a list of the OEMs.
Yeah, it's not mine, it's $6.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
think so.
more importantly, if there's a change, we could be in front of it.
Yeah,
I mean, they know what they have in them now.
I know she put one together.
it's not in here.
That's probably, Bob, that's probably a bigger
It's not in the-
concern than
not in the
anything
Bible.
else.
I know she put one together.
Is us being able to communicate to the dealers so they don't have the wrong stuff.
Oh, Rich is passing them out.
If there is a change, we can get them to send it back and replace it.
Attaboy.
Yeah,
When they take care of us.
I'm holding back, so.
You're so much better than Rob.
Hey, my book doesn't have it either.
Yeah, the bar's set low.
I know someone
Very
did that for
far.
you guys. I think that's what they're passing out.
Uh-oh,
Yep.
somebody think I'm getting
That's the
one.
list, though.
Well, no, we should have it for 18.
He has the list
I can give
of
mine up, I have
products
mine.
are used by who, and I think he's passing that out right now.
Some of these OEMs have probably never even heard of, but they're all on here. 2 pages.
2 pages.
Oh, all right.
See, John, you screwed it up.
You got yours, sorry. No, I'm doing all.
Wait, you forgot Forest River 39, Forest River 73.
Hey, I don't know anything about it.
Are we short? You got him? Nice.
There we go.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That's probably, it should be enough for 18 binders.
That thing on it.
Yep. Bob did it, I walked that way.
Okay,
now. Jeff couldn't do
yeah,
his back.
she has the price, she has the products listed for you guys. Only downfall is it's not by trailer itself, so you can't say like Jayco Trailhawk has this in it, so it depends. It's kind of a broad range, hey, Jayco uses any of these products, or Forest River uses any of these products, so still kind of a wide gap of what product could be at a certain dealership. But at least it's a rough copy.
No, but if you wanna do that, we'll take that too.
Was that?
I said, but if you wanna make that list, we'll take that too.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No, we could actually, we could probably use some of our load audits to, because on every or every audit that we do, at the top says Jayco or Forest River Plant 8, and it'll say, unit model, so say Columbus, and then it'll say Columbus 24 FK, so it's a 24-foot Columbus Forest River trailer, and it'll say what converter they're using. I mean, that'd be many, many, many documents, so I mean, if you're talking the 160 plants we go to, a lot of those people run 2 or 3 different models. You could have hundreds and hundreds of
I
pages
think at
of,
this point, I think if we just come up with something new,
like
and
the
it changes
8500,
like this,
7500.
yeah, I mean, you gotta start somewhere, even if we just start from there, and the new stuff comes out.
Absolutely, and we can always filter it as we go along to get better and better. On the next page is 8700, which we've already talked about, but a lot of the specs and stuff that we talked about on page 14 and 15 is on there, so if you guys need a reference back to the 8712 all the way to the 8740, all the specs are on here and what exactly we talked about earlier. Same with page 16 and 17, which we talked about. The 8955 quite a bit, but again, it tells you all the specs for each model. It tells you 8935 all the way to 8975. And even on page 17, it shows the T30 transfer switch piggybacked onto the PEC itself. Like I said, each page gives you quite a bit of spec information about the products themselves. You go to page 18. Now we're getting into our other new product, which is just like the 8500, but this is the 9500. It's the exact same thing, but this is for 50 amp service. So this is our 50 amp panel compared to the 8500. It's just a 30 amp panel. So you have two 50 amp breakers, but you have the LED indicator for incoming voltage again, and the same thing on the DC fuse board. You have the blunt fuse indicators, but you also have a bulk mode indicator on the fuse board as well. And this one has 16 DC circuits. This is a screw terminal, so this one would be, where's the sticker? It's missing the sticker. Oh, no, it's not. This is a 9580, so this is an 80 amp DC converter. And this is a screw terminal, so on your paper, this would be a 9580S, or S standing for screw terminal, if you wanted a wired or pre-wired to be 9580W. And again, this is zero clearance, so there's no holes on the back for it to breathe. It breathes in and out of the front with the fans from inside. It sucks in one side, blows out the front.
Why not do that on all of them?
It was kind of, don't fix it if it ain't broken.
Wouldn't it make your life easier at the OE level if they didn't have to worry so much about space requirements on that, was it the 8700? Requires ventilation?
I mean, it's getting that way, but the people that are still using the 8900 have like factored that in, and like I said, the 8900 has been around since when Coachman was still Coachman days. It's just been the same thing that's been continuously used. Like if you go into a 2006 Coachman, look at the 8955, it's not too much different to the 8955 that's in the 2019 that's being built now. So people are just used to it. They already have the tools to cut out the right size hole. It's just, it's not broken, so they're rolling with it. That's one thing we didn't bring up here. Is on page 20 is a 9900. We didn't bring one of them up here.
You want one?
Do you have one?
Yeah, I'll go track one down.
If you don't mind. Anyone have questions while we have Todd grab us a 9900? This is kind of,
That's a 9900.
Yeah. Do a dash S on this one.
9900, please.
9900.
9900.
Yeah. W's for wire.
we're not really pushing the 9900 anymore. We're trying to push the 9500. That's like the new and
You just wanna get rid of it?
upgraded version.
There really is one out there.
There's not, you
This
won't
one
find
here
anything.
is-
Buffer clamp.
Yeah.
Have a broader
Not
edge.
even a 9900.
These guys are getting blinker fluid. Lock on that door?
I don't know, one day we might phase out of the 9900.
Don't
What do you
know
think,
that one.
Coach? You think so?
I think so, yeah.
But
Definitely.
when it comes up with the 9900, we do sell 9900 MBAs, so just like every one of our other products that you can swap out the MBA other than the 8700, which is in its own little class. There are main boards, so they don't have to rewire the whole coach to replace the bottom section of it. The 99 is also a 50 amp service panel. That's all in one, so it has the converter, the AC slots, and the DC fuse board all in one package. It just doesn't have some of the added on features like the 9500 and 8500. Doesn't have the incoming LEDs, nor the full load indicator.
Where would you use this at? Is this like the few motorhomes or for the big fifth wheels or, I mean, I don't know.
Does anyone familiar with Forest River Columbus? Big 34, 36 foot. They used to use a lot of our 9900s. They went from 9900, now they're using 9500.
Right.
9500 is a better converter, I would say. 99 has just been what they've always used. And there's a size difference. This is a 9900. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's like a 6-year-old. But this one's also zero clearance. This one has been used for a long time. Like I said, Columbus was using these, so if you see some older Columbus, they have these in them. And if you guys, with the dealers, they do have 99 MBAs, so you might want to stock almost some 9900 MBAs. As you can see, while we're trying to push the 9500, these are both 50-inch panels. This is the newer one with a little more luxurious features, and this is just what they've been used to, and that's why they switched to this one. But as far as the dealer, you might want to try pushing some of the 9960 ABA so they don't have to rewire the whole coach, because it's going to cost them a lot less to just throw on a new main board if they need it. Thanks, Todd. There's not a whole lot about that one, but I appreciate you showing this. Alright, page 22 and 23 are about the transfer switches that we had already talked about. We had a 30 amp transfer switch and our 50 amp transfer switch. And again, those are only there to provide a 30-second time delay for your gen set, and that's all they are there for. You can use those. I don't know if anyone does anything with like off-grid, like cabins or ice shanties or anything like that. You don't technically need a generator to utilize a transfer switch. You can use it in an inverter or a converter combo. So like if, say, if they have a cabin that's out in the boonies that they want to run off a bank of batteries or something because they have solar. Well, instead of putting a generator on the gen set line, you can put an inverter there. So it doesn't matter where that voltage is coming from on the gen set line. It just matters as long as it gets that voltage, it will transfer that power through. So you can have a converter on, not a converter, but a generator or an inverter to run two different power sources. If your generator runs out, you can use the inverter on that gen set side to power out whatever you're trying to utilize. Let's see.
Will it automatically switch from the generator to on its own?
It will, shore power is primary. So whatever you have wired in on the shore power side, whether you hooked it up correctly
Yeah.
or incorrectly, shore power side is always going to be primary.
But if it fails, will it keep to the generator?
If it fails, it's never going to switch most likely. Because a failure usually is going to be a relay that won't make a connection. So maybe the gen side works and the shore power doesn't, or vice versa. But usually a failure is going to have only one or the other working, and it will never switch over. And sometimes with transfer switches, the thing that can go wrong with those is vibration. Because, like I said, it's a little relay inside, and there's maybe a millimeter gap, maybe less than a millimeter gap, between the contacts of up and down. So I mean, the vibration, if they're going down some rocky trails and just a whole bunch of this, it could actually offset that sled, so it might not make the transfer. It might just stick to the shore power side. On page 24, 25, it's just talking about our RDP. Again, we talked about it a little bit already. There's nothing really new on here. It just gives you the dimensions and everything that we had talked about previously. On our 68100, that'd be on page 26. We talked about that a little bit, but one thing this book just showed to me that I didn't really talk about is on the back side, of the 68100, if you look at the bottom left of page 26, you see a battery selector toggle switch that provides customers with the choice of using either an AGM lead acid or a gel cell type battery. Our 68100 is the only converter that we recommend that can actually provide voltage to a gel battery, because there's a little switch that you could toggle up or down, indicating whether you're on lead acid or if you install gel batteries. So this is the only converter that you can actually manipulate the charge profile of it to charge a gel battery. Any other converter of ours, I would not recommend gel batteries. Because essentially what the selector switch does when you put it in gel mode, it prevents it from going into bulk mode. Because a gel battery, they don't like that high voltage, so it eliminates the possibility of it ever going into bulk mode. And then it has the LED indicators that tell you exactly what those lights mean when they're on. Alright, on page 28 and 29, it's going back into our 9800 series deck mount converter. Again, it just tells you the specs of all of the models within the 9800 series, all the way from 35 amp DC output to 9875 that has 75 amp DC output. And it tells you the wattage that they're rated at, the voltage levels that they're good for, and the sizing dimensions of it. On page 30 and 31,
Hey, did you talk about the fuses being different in the 65 and 75 versus the others?
you know,
The fuse size being different in 65 and 75 versus the 35, 45, 55?
what do you mean? The reverse polarity fuses?
Yeah, one's a 20 amp, one's a 15 amp battery.
Are you talking about the power cord?
No.
Because 55 and below have a 15 amp power cord, and the 65 and 75 have a 20 amp power cord. But regardless, all of our products are equipped with the reverse polarity fuses. Those sizes do vary depending on the output of the converter. So you obviously don't want those fuses sized under the output of the converter. So an 8735 is going to have one 87 or one 40 amp fuse. An 8975 is going to have two 40 amp fuses, just because you don't want to be under what the output could be, or else you're just going to blow that fuse with just normal operation. So the fuse sizes do vary on the converter, and they're roughly about 10% over what the output of the converter is. So the fuses are going to vary from a 35 all the way to a 75, which the 75 is going to have two 40 amp fuses instead of the 9835, which is going to have one 40 amp fuse. Is that what you meant, Todd?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. On page 30, 31, it's talking about our 8800 series. And that is our E unit. So that's a European voltage converter. So again, you're not going to mess with the 8800 unless you deal with anyone that sells European powered units. But these are a 240 volt powered converter. So it's the same exact thing, same charging profile, same fan, all of the above, just for a different input voltage for the 8800 compared to the 9800. On page 32 is our 893050. This is what I told you our 9800 plugs into the back of, or our 68100. Any of our deck mounts plug into this 20 amp receptacle that's on the back end of here that is pre-wired into the panel itself. I can't show you because there's a block, but all that 3050 is a distribution panel. So this only houses your breakers and fuses. You can use this for 30 or 50 amp service, but most of the time, if you're gonna have something this large, you're gonna use it for what it's recommended for, is 50 amp service, just because there's two different legs. So if you want to use 30 amp service, you'd only use one of the legs provided inside. If people have an 893050 and they have a problem with their converter, they think they have to replace this as well. You should never have to replace this. You might need a new door or something at some point, so if you ever go someone, they say they need a new 893050, there'd have to be like physical damage in order to need to replace this. Other than that, the fuse board is replaceable, and there's part numbers in that catalog that give you part numbers for all of our fuse boards. And again, this fuse board is replaceable too. That's about the only replaceable thing on here, except for the door assembly and the door only. But that's all the 893050 is there for, is to provide the AC breaker and DC fuse slot holders for a deck mount converter. And it's not, people can use that panel with any deck mount converter, so it's not just subject to just our deck mount converter. Just like our deck mount converters are not just subject to our panel only. They can be plugged into any distribution panel that has a receptacle incorporated into the panel. Alright, page 34 and 35, we're going back to the 5110. Our 1000-watt inverter, I believe, I'm not sure if that's on your guys' OEM list as well, but there's quite a few OEMs that use our 5110 that you guys will see quite a bit of. The warranty on these are quite a bit less than what they used to be when we used to have the fake reverse polarity fuses, like everyone else, where if you hooked it up backwards it became paperweight. Now with our actual reverse polarity protection, where you can hook the battery backwards and the unit be perfectly fine once you correct the polarity, warranty has gone down to almost nothing. So most of these aren't really being replaced, but you might see one of our 5110Hs or HP that were not equipped with the technology they are now, that they hooked that backwards and is blown. Now you would replace it with the 5110R. And the selling point on that is it's the same price, and now you can hook it up backwards and not make it a paperweight. We've had dealers that hooked them up 3 times in a row, so they went through 3 inverters before they realized their wiring was backwards at the battery, not at the terminals where it's hooking up to the inverter. So now not only do we learn when dealers make mistakes too, because now we provide with every inverter stickers that indicate for them to put on their battery cables positive and negative. So when the OEM hooks them up to the inverter at the factory, they put the sticker on it says positive on this cable, negative on this cable. So try to dummy proof it as much as we can.
I prefer the dealer go through 3 of them.
Yeah, sorry.
That's-
Commissionable sales.
It sounds good until you lose a lot of business because a dealer has a lot of pull on the OEM side. And if you have a high-ranking dealer that sells a lot of units and they're like, well, this is junk and we're sending a lot of these in, it'll drop you. So, gotta make the dealers happy. Next page is our 5118 and 20. I'm not sure how much of an impact you guys are gonna see on the aftermarket side with our 1800 and 2000 watt inverter. Obviously, we want you to sell them. We just know they're a little pricey compared to some of our competitors. So, and there's nothing fancy about them. They're just an inverter. They take your 12 DC voltage and turn it to your 120 volt AC voltage. And that's about it. There's no bells and whistles on these. It's just straight power. So it's not like our 5110R. These are not reverse polarity protected like our 5110Rs. So you hook these up backwards and it's a big old paperweight. And it's not a cheap one. And that's how a lot of the inverters are out there on the market. Magnum is a big inverter company. They don't have reverse polarity protection. So you hook those up backwards, paperweight. Xantrex does have one that is, and Progressive Dynamics has 1000 watt that is, but that's really about it. Xantrex, Progressive Dynamics, yeah. Those are about the only 2 other than us that have that technology. So anyone else will go backwards and it's an expensive mistake. Next on page 38, I don't know how much time we should even spend on this. I'm not sure if this is a relevant application for aftermarket, but EM20 or 15 is energy management. This is something that you would want installed at the factory. This is something technically a customer could put in the aftermarket, but what it takes is it takes 2 different AC appliances and shares it on one breaker, and it's a load shedding system. So when this one's on, this one turns off, when this one's off, that one turns back on. So it's kind of to save breaker space, so I don't know how many people are gonna do that in the aftermarket, but I guess you might have some of those guys that wanna refurbish an older coach that may wanna mess with those, but it's just a load shed system that two AC appliances can share one breaker, and it sheds the light load, runs the powerful load. Next page, on page 40, is just our 8900 MBA. We've talked about that a couple times, and we have MBAs for every size of our PEC. So if we have an 8935 all the way to an 8945 or 75 PEC, we have an MBA to match. Not all of these are interchangeable, so 55 and below, they are interchangeable. So a 35 will fit in a 55, a 55 will fit in a 35, and the 65 and 75 will fit in each other's, but not in the 55 or below. So 55 and below, you can interchange those. 65 and 75 can only be interchanged with themselves if you wanted to. I'm not sure why you would, but if the dealer only has a 75 on his shelf and they have a 65, you can put the 75 in, or vice versa. Just because the 65 and 75 case is a lot larger than the 55 case, so they do not fit. Alright, if you flip the page, we've already went over these pages a couple times, but these are very helpful not only for you guys, but I'm sure when you guys start seeing your dealers and they see these, they're going to want these at least for their technicians, because these are very, very, very handy, and they put a lot of hours into making this to what it is now. But yeah, you got all of the cutouts for all of our products on the left, and then all of the crossovers there on page 43 for our competitors to our products on the right. And then once you get to page 44, again, this might be something your dealers would like as well, and the testers and stuff at these dealerships. We just got these little pyramid waterfall troubleshooting guides for all of our products. So you start with the first question, does it do this, yes or no? Follow the arrow to your answer all the way to the finished result. Your converter works or your converter's dead, and replace it. Again, they took a lot of time to put these together, but they have a troubleshooting made easy for all of our products. So if you go through all your pages, it's every single one of our products that we just talked about, other than like the energy management. But you do have the inverter on here. Even the, wow, I didn't even know we had the 1800 and the 2000 one on here, but those are on here as well. Page 54, we start going into torque values, which again, I'm not sure how I'll word the dealers about it, but at the OEM level, we hit them on this all the time before they go to PDI or codes and inspections and stuff, because torque's important. Torque starts fires, so I mean, loose connections will burn your converter and your house down real quick. And then once you get to page 55, these will be good for you guys. These are frequently asked questions that we receive on the phone or through email. First one's gonna be, where can I order a converter? Yeah, you guys are gonna say, from me. Well, WFC will help me install my converter. We won't physically go there, but we will talk to people on the phone that if they're having problems, we do talk to them. I talk to people, I give people my cell phone number, and I try to help people on the weekend. Just because obviously without the customers, we're not gonna have a job, so you gotta keep them happy, and if they bitch to the dealer's gonna complain, and it's just gonna be a steamroll effect, so try to help out the people that you can. And next one is, where do I find the model number? That's a good question, because people really mess this up. We tell them if they flip their door down, there'll be a sticker with the model number right here at the top. Well, they'll flip the door down, and on some of the products, there's a sticker on both sides, so they start reading numbers off this bottom sticker. But if you look at the top of any of our power centers, if you flip the door down, you'll be looking at, it says WFCO, and right next to it says model 8735 for this one, for instance. So on any of our power centers, they are labeled right here with a sticker. 8700 is the series, just like 8900 is the series. The model itself, this one is an 8935, so the last two numbers are the model indicators. So an 8955 is an 8900 series converter. The 55 amp is the DC output, so an 8955 is their model. So model and series go together. Do you repair converters? We do not repair converters. We put fuses back in sometimes, but that is about the only repair that we do. So when we get stuff in from dealers and they don't have a fuse in them, or they come in with blown fuses and that's the reason they're not working, we'll replace the fuses and send it back. But we do not repair anything, so people are not getting fixed units. And just like Todd was talking to you guys about rims earlier, rim does not mean it's being technically remanufactured. Rim means it's been through our quality control testing process, and it looks like it's been used because we knocked the knockouts out. The wiring might have markings on from being tightened down, so you can't sell it as new because it technically got tested, so therefore it's a rim. So the rims are actually very good products, but they come with a 1-year warranty, not 2, like the rest of our stuff. Where's the reverse polarity fuse? All of our reverse polarity fuses are on our DC fuse boards. And they're labeled, it says reverse polarity fuses, except for the 9800 or any of our deck mounts. They're right on the deck mount themselves, right by the battery connections. Someone was talking about, Todd was talking about fuses. Right here it tells you what exact reverse polarity fuses are installed on each model. So it tells you an 8712 has a 15 amp fuse, and then all the way to the right, a 9875 has 240 amp fuses. So these come equipped with the fuses, but this is telling you what those fuses should be replaced with, if they have to replace them. What size DC fuses do I need? You want to replace a fuse with the size fuse that it is, but sometimes the dealer will put in too high or too little of a fuse, they'll just throw in whatever they got. But you fuse things to what the load is, not actually you fuse to the wire gauge, but you don't just throw an 80 amp fuse in there because you have one. What are the red LEDs on the DC fuse board? Those are blown fuse indicators like we had talked about earlier. How many amps does the converter supply to the battery? That goes back to my statement earlier. You can look at the battery as, or the converter as a bank. So an 8955 has 55 amps available. So technically the battery can take 55 amps. That's how many can go to the battery. So the battery takes whatever it needs from the converter. So depending on the size of the converter, that's how many amps can go to the battery. It's not what will go to the battery, it's what can. What is the pigtail for on the black wire to the converter? What that's talking about? Okay. Inside this PEC, we have 3 wires that are on our AC side, just like our main board. You got black, white, and green wire. This one's been cut off, but on this black wire is this pigtail. So it's a black wire. This is what would be going into your breaker. This is your hot for the converter. It has this pigtail, and what we call this is a branch circuit. So if they ran out of AC breaker space, they can tie into this pigtail, and it would just share the breaker that the converter's on. So if they had something they needed, they didn't have breaker space for it, or they didn't have a breaker on them, they could just tie it into this pigtail, but it has a cap on it already, and they would share the breaker with the converter. How do I get my converter into float trickle mode? Again, it's nice that you guys can keep these with you because it has all the questions and answers. But trickle mode is for like storage situations, like if you're putting your camper up for the winter and you're putting it in your barn and not going to be using it. It has to sit with almost no load for 44 hours, and then I'll go into a trickle mode. I'm not sure if anyone has Harleys, but anything like that, that you put your bike up for the winter usually sits on a bike stand and it just has a trickle charger on it. Most of the time, you're not gonna take your battery out and maintain it on a bench somewhere, you'll just keep it where it is and plug it in. And it's just keeping the battery up to par where it should be, it'll stay at a full level, at a low voltage. But with float mode, the moment you walk into that camper and turn a light switch on, it's gonna go out of your float mode and it'll go back into absorption. And then to get it back in, it'll have to sit for another 44 hours with no load to get back into the float mode. And then the next one is, can I force my converter into bulk mode? No, you can't. You can't force it in. The only one you can actually force it into is our 68100 with that hold up the button on the front. Other than that, all of our converters go into bulk mode depending on the battery levels themselves. Can I mount my converter in any direction? Any of our deck mount converters can be installed in any direction, upside down, sideways, back and forth. As long as the venting for the incoming air and outgoing is not obstructed, you'll be fine to put it in any way you want. Next, we're going into batteries. We've already said we recommend people using lead acid batteries most of the time. AGMs are okay. Gels are okay for the 68100, but not really for anything else. And up for discussion is lithium. Many engineers say that our converters will charge lithium perfectly fine to 90%, and you just won't get that last 10% out of the battery, but it will not hurt the battery. So we recommend anything but gels pretty much, except for the 68100. Next, does the converter need a battery to operate? Like we had spoken before, the converters will function with or without a battery. The battery's kind of there as a backup power source to help the converter out on high load items like your slide outs, your hydraulic jacks, anything that's going to have a very large draw through the converter. Bunch of battery questions. The next stuff is kind of about warranty, which I think Christy's going to talk to you about. You want me to grab Christy to talk about warranty now?
We'll save it. We'll save it for tomorrow.
Yeah. We're just kind of running out of stuff in the book to talk about now. Does anyone have any questions on anything? We kind of repeated ourselves about a bunch of things, but like I said, all of our products are pretty much the same, they're just in a different enclosure, but the guts and stuff are all the same, they all operate the same. You got anything for us, Rich?
Did you guys talk about the Power Pros, what they do, how important they are?
Yeah.
Did that? Okay.
Like I said, my card's in there. You guys, my cell phone's on my card, so I'm available at all times to answer questions, or if the dealer has problems, or if the dealer's giving you guys problems. More than willing to throw it my way and let me deal with them. But as far as any problems, like people calling here all day long, our phones are super busy, and we have 5 or 6 people that are answering these calls. They don't just answer calls, but they're my guys that are on the field, they test the product, they actually do warranty, they know what they're talking about, they're not just reading from a book, oh yeah, try this out. They actually work with the products.
The call center open 8 to 5 or?
It's our business hours, which is 7 to 4. My cell phone's open all the time.
Do you guys do the dealer trainings at like the NTP Expo? You do any of the,
Yes.
do you?
Yeah, Derek did one this past year.
Okay.
He's done it the last couple of years.
What, are they at the booth as well for
Yes.
dealer? Okay.
I think we're trying to get more heavily involved in training dealers right now. I think it's a new angle that we are trying to tackle. But like I said, I work really closely with Forest River, and they fly a lot of dealers in. Forest River spends a lot of money trying to train their dealers. And anytime they get those guys in, I'm over there too, so Forest River we're good with. I think we're trying to get more into the Keystones and the J-Codes and the Heartlands and those guys. We actually just produced a letterhead that my guys are passing out every factory they go to. It's talking about we offer in-house training and we're there to train their guys. And we have done training with them, it's just not as regular as Forest River has brought us into.
Is there a suggested list, and I don't know if there would even be a list of recommended service parts that a dealer would stock? Or any list of a recommendation of what they should have on their shelf as far as any service parts? Main boards?
Like
or-
of our products,
Yes.
that'd be what I think Todd's gonna talk to you guys tomorrow about the four
Yeah,
SKUs.
so the POP is our, 4 of our top SKUs, most popular SKUs, and we have one part number set up with them. And we'll go into more details with it, like, so there's 4 SKUs that are our most popular items loaded.
Is there like any main boards or any?
Yes.
Okay.
The
That's gonna be
NBA,
all
the
that.
NBA and the RAP are both.
Okay, all right.
The NBA, the 8955 NBA is our most popular item by far. I mean, it's not even close, really, to anything else. The 9855 would be next in line.
89, 55. Like I said, 55 is about the bread and butter of the RV industry, whether it's a deck or NBA.
I'm gonna sneak behind you.